The most ridiculous thing on the internet. Well, hello people. Hello, Sailor Flex here. Welcome to today's video. Of course, I had some issues audio wise, which I'm still having. How's that? Much better. Can everyone hear me? So, in today's episode one of the Pedal Dive podcast, we're going to get the fact that me modifying Chinese pedals is the most ridiculous thing on the internet today. And I've said this before, we're not talking about people falling over, or we're not talking about silly cats getting dressed up. Me putting vintage capacitors into pedals is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Get on. Push up the volume. Okay, let's see. As you can imagine, I learned how to do this about 10 seconds ago. Let me see. What a great start to this episode. How's that? Is that better? Seems like just a more. No, it's definitely coming through the road mic. Okay, how's that for volume now? Perfect. Right, okay. So, as I was saying, the most ridiculous thing on the internet is clearly me putting capacitors into cheap Chinese pedals. Of course it is. Why not? Now, before we get into that, I'd like to just welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Pedal Type podcast. I'm Joe Halliday. I'm going to be your host. I am looking for another host. Um, there was meant to be two of us, and right now I'm going to jump into that big pickup-sized elephant in the room, and the fact that this was meant to be the Pedal and Pickup podcast. I was meant to be going live with a pickup builder who's based here in the UK. However, there's some legal difficulty. I hate doing this. They say, oh, there might be something legal, not put it all out in the world. But there's some legal difficulties that prevent him from talking about the things that I, and I'm sure you, wanted to talk about. So we'll put a pin in that and say that I couldn't have a podcast where questions could be asked and I couldn't answer. So, um, yeah, that's it. There's an echo here. And like, okay, I think I've got a cancellation on. How's that now still? That now still? Tell you what, my English is getting terrible. Right. So with that in mind, and the fact that I know people are going to ask why this pickup builder left the company he was at, and eagerly answer the questions, and I will run the answers live. So well, basically, I retreated. I was upset. I was going to give up on the podcast, and in the middle of the night, my wife doesn't remember this. In the middle of the night, said to me, "Why are you worried? Everything you do in our world seems to go all right. Just do it yourself." So I thought, well, she's right. And then when I said the next, really, really needed that, he said to me, "What are you talking about?" It's advice from the wife, and she's half asleep. But this podcast, the main goal of this, find people who are willing to talk about their pedal designs or deep dive into actual circuits or reasons why we use components. It's not going to be a meet and greet some of the great pedal builders, because if you want that, you know, there's other podcasts out there. I mean, there's some people who host other podcasts who are literally now. So I'll leave that to them. Now, I'm useful from getting out my speakers. I've turned them off. The problem is, right now, as you can probably see from my surroundings, I'm in a military accommodation house. So I'm in a corner of our diner, and there's this lovely wood chip on the wall. And very provide this. Let me tell you, they're different, something to be desired. but I'm right in the corner. Much to absorb the sound of this room, so I think it is just in this room. I've even got my road mic, definitely copying the guitar knobs. They love a road mic, but I think the issue is literally on the corner. Padding. I have actually almost on the verge of moving to a new home, so hopefully, in a I'll be shop filming this and not. No, I'm seeing some problems. Is it anyone else seeing that or no? Right. The first thing I wanted to do, every well thought argument needs to be thought out on both sides. For me, if I'm going to say I want to put size, capacitors, ridiculous, and make it valid, I've got to make an argument for the other side being correct. So I'm exploring all possibilities, very open minded like that. A lot of critical thinking. I'm sure. You know, if he was buying a computer, he would look for reasons why he shouldn't buy a computer. He was just that way of thinking. So for me, I put vintage capacitors into uh, into cheap Chinese pedals. Well, I'll tell you why. Vintage capacitors actually drift, so capacitors have a lifespan. Originally, it was thought in the hi-fi world, 20 years is the max that you would have on like a filter cap or capacitor in your circuit. Now, I would argue that since then, we've been proving that 50 years on Leo Fenders are still strong, some of them, and need the capacitors changing. So there's an argument for and against. They'll also say that, you know, it's ridiculous and unnecessary. You're spending lots of money on something that doesn't need a lot of money spent on it. Well, you know, let's talk about cars. Has anyone upgraded their car before? When you go and buy a car and you say, "Oh, I'll have the leather interior," or I'll have the, you know, the upgraded engine, no problem. Well, the 1.4 get you there, which is better. They both do the same thing. You know, in the UK, 70 mile an hour. What's the point in having a bigger car? Because you want it, quite simply. So, yeah, and then the last thing people say, any capacitor, as long as they are the same value. Now, this is very controversial. I'm not sure why, but it is absolutely controversial for some reason. Um, People will say that any capacitor does the same job as long as it's the same. Now, I absolutely refute that, mainly because, you know, on the surface of it, I see where you're coming from. Any capacitor with the same value should essentially do the same thing. You know, a door is a door. You know, it closes and opens. But that's not strictly true. Now, for me, my history is I'm a mechanical engineer. I joined up. If you were clever, they put you in electronics or electrical. And if you're a bit on the dull side, they will put you through as a mechanical engineer. Of course, yours truly got the mechanical side. I learned the electric. So I think of everything in terms of pipework. So if we imagine our capacitor as being a water tank on a water system, the water flows in, fills up the tank, water flows out. If the water flowing in stops, there's still a way for the water to get out. There's no interruption for the flow further downstream. Now, I hope that's making sense to you. Now, let me put this here. It doesn't matter what type of tank you have, as long as it's the same size. Well, what happens if you're driving the whole of the tank? It's still the same capacity, it's still the same tank. But now we've got a discharge or maybe a little bigger hole way in and, you know, charge quicker, or, you know, each capacitor has its own little idiosyncrasy. And another thing I say is you can't say that Mylar caps are better than blah, 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 blah. What I find, certainly in my caps, is that I'll put caps inside, I'll put A caps, more good English, well done. I'll put a capacitor inside the pedal, and I can hear that's not the right thing, even though it can be right next to another one that's identical value, test the same. I do test them all for ESR, which is resistance. I mean, I don't profess to know a lot about capacitors, but I can test for ESR. But sometimes they sound different. And if you look inside some of my pedals, you'll probably see where I've soldered and soldered parts back in. I recently finished fuzz for my credit card, and the higher value capacitor, input capacitor on it, I must have sold that in like 20 times. It started off with a clarity cap because they made it in the UK, actually made them well, but we won't go against them. Massive sorry to Chris Buck there, who we loves Wales. But yeah, it matters, all of it. Now, I'm hoping someone in the comments is going to refute that. And right, let's see, where do we go? Oh, there's someone mentioned the sock shirt there. X. Get in. Thanks for buying that shirt. Let me. So another thing to consider is, our capacitors made better today. Now, if you think about it, everything has gone surface mount. That's them little tiny things that are impossible to work on, but better than them on it anyway. Everything's gone surface mount. So no one will be making through-hole components at quality unless you're paying for the high-end stuff. So when people tell you, don't be paying the extra for that capacitor, it's the same as X, Y, and Z, that's getting less and less true as time goes on. Because if you think about it, 50 years ago, the through-hole components, the ones that we all know and love, were used in things like hospital equipment, and it had to be precisely made well and at scale. And there was money involved, factories and stuff. And now, as time's moved on, so has industry, and we don't use them anymore. So I find that the more mojo stuff, mojo, boutique mojo, no, but the more bespoke stuff actually is better because someone took the time to make it. Yes, it does cost more. If that's the case. Yeah. So I'd love someone to refute me on. I've also now, not to single out people, see if I try and add in some image here where I flat on face. Let's see. No. Huh. This is going to be a great video. No, right. Well, what we're going to do is pretend that I'm on the screen, and by next week I'm going to have to that. So I've got a few comments. We're going to start off with, I'd like to say troll, but it's not a troll because I actually got some really, so really I said about me on this video. So I'm going to show for perfection. This is a comment on my YouTube screen. It says, great video, very informative. That said, economy, Chinese mod, silliest thing. I've already times over. The Soviet, they were behind the times. So the Soviets had it on when the rest of the world had moved on. I mean, it was actually manufactured in Ukraine, I believe, funnily enough, in the Donbass region, shock. But that them components, Soviet, way up into the 80s, the same quality as the ones and the British ones were back in the 60s, from personal experience, and it's still quite good if you want to use that. So I'm going to read that. The silliest thing ever to be committed to historical record. Come on now, come on. Have you heard of a thing called the Gracie Rock? I don't know if you guys have that, but come on. I mean, Spacewalk here, that it's impossible to replicate with modern manufacturing methods. It's a pride in producing quality products that met out or exceed expectations and tolerances. Exactly what I was saying. Look at that, I managed to get on. That's exactly what I was saying before. You just, they expect a 20-year life from these. even in a hi-fi, they expected that their filter caps would last 20 years. 50 years on, we've got Dynaco hi-fis that are walking around with the filter caps in. Now, I was fortunate enough to enter debate question session with said person on my channel. So he basically says downgrade with respect to modern components, which I refute, and that the capacitors, yeah, absolutely they do. And do you know another thing? So much pedal that I built. I mean, let's face it, £250 per pedal is ridiculous. My first pedals, and if you Google Guitar Jar magazine review, I'm going to say 2000, and I'm selling for £30 each, and now they're £250 each. That's ridiculous. And what you're paying for me throwing 20 away before the kids the right value. Now you make, and I would say that if it's rarer and more bespoke, it's worth more money and more people want it. Well, that's my opinion. Right, and he also goes on, if I can just get my in the screen, that you could see going into um, an old, um, an old piece of machinery. The way I'm using it is, oh, I absolutely disagree with that because I would say that it's adding value. Now, I read somewhere on the internet that I wish I took a screenshot. There's a guy saying that these components do anything. They don't make music. Playing a guitar that makes music. They just sit there doing nothing. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with you to an extent because, as far as I would say, that with a guitar in his hand in front of me, I get into. Let me see. I feel like this podcast is dated. How's that? Let me see. Hello? Hello? Right. If I. How's the audio on that thing? Let's see if we can. How's that? That better or worse? That should be now, if I'm right. That should be. No, I don't think it's. Is that coming through or? We're going to go with that. Now, I've absolutely lost my train of thought. Fantastic. Ah, yeah. If you're using boutique components or whatever, they just sit there, they do nothing until the guy playing the music or the guitar actually comes along, and then it becomes a thing. But that's ridiculous because that's like saying I might as well buy a Renault A4. Is it A4 or A2 from back in the 80s? Just as good. It's does nothing until someone sat the guy. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm going to now next. This is a comment. In fact, this right. This is move along. An article. Now, this surprised me, and I hope it surprises everyone else as well. It's actually from the NHS show. seen this before? So it's an article about how um, old components and pedals don't matter, and you might as well just use new components. For me, that's considering he's got like this collection of vintage pedals in the world. I'm not sure where he's going with that, but his actual statement took me by surprise on this one. So it says, I said it before and I'll say it again. This is a guitar pedal, not a Stradivarius. Stradivarius. And honestly, that's the best news you're going to get, because basically you can own a new one. Which to me is ridiculous, and I'll refute that because it's not about sound. Like, it's not about how the guitar sounds. It's about how it makes you feel. It's all psychosomatic. Now, I've lost count of the amount of times that people have said to me, those diodes don't matter. The cap doesn't matter. The transistor doesn't matter. It's all in your head. Well, have you watched everything is all in your head? I mean, if I lived my life as a millionaire, I'd mind the world. A capacitor in there, massive, like a huge cap, and I know it's in there, but no, it makes me feel good when I'm playing the guitar. Job done. That's the way it's really. That's great. There's like, feeling the need to express it on one of my videos. I must admit, I was so happy when I got them comments. I was taking this Talmud's podcast. I was literally ecstatic that someone took the time out of their day to write on my video. First of all, great, thank you for the view. And then I explain that I was ridiculous. Cheers. I'll take that as well. And I'm all up for debate, so it was a really good, solid argument. And do you know what? I would love to have someone on as a on the live stream now to debate me. So is there anyone who go out to the live stream now? Anyone who thinks that I'm talking about we should all buy new pedals, new components? I'm hoping there is someone who would refute me on that. Anyway, so if you've ever read, another comment here. This is a bit of an older one. People get too hung up on the voltage component and the vintage components over time, and that the materials don't matter and the values matter. Well, let's have a look. I think that the materials do. Everything matters. That's like saying, wood in your guitar doesn't matter. Well, what about if you strum it? What about the vibrations through the neck that you feel that translate into the acoustic sound, but also translate into the sound without any pedals on? You can, if I take my old telly into the amp, they sound completely different. Just the pickup. They could have the same pickups in the same. And let's show this one. Got to say thank you to for engaging. I love this. So Josh is referring to around certain obsolete components of amps and resistors, and saying parts that circuits what matter to the audio to hear the difference. Yeah, great. What about how it makes you feel? Not about that. What you feel like inside when that if I've got a clone from Lyra, they're probably they're the best clones. I don't know. We need to put the tunnels there, and then you get a real play them both. Now, one of the comments I was alluding to said that if you blindfolded the top musician in the world, I'm going to assume he's talking about someone like Joe Bonamassa, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Well, I think that's ridiculous, because Eric Johnson can tell which way round the light is fitted into his pendulum. He knows which pin is going where, and sounds better than the other. So although Josh knows way more than me about guitar pedals and everything guitar anyway. But and you could say the crowd don't hear or the people at the gig don't, fine. But if you're having a good day and you feel like playing, I'm going to go ahead and say that you feel that, and it would know that. So I disagree. Uh, let's have a look. Here's another one. Just waiting for modern technology to create a pedal size variable capacitor. Only then mojo will be in the past. Well, I challenge it to find mojo. That would be my question. What I mean, in my descriptions for pedals, I mean, if you've been following along, you'll know that I put, mojo or vintage components in there. But what would you consider mojo? I mean, someone in 50 years' time thinking anything that's cool is mojo. You know? So, I mean, I remember the time this pretty sought after. So, do pedal size variable capacitors, decade boxes, or variatone circuit. That'll do it. Love it. Right, well, while I've got you here anyway, from now on, now I've got me set up sorted. We are going to go every other Monday. This thing, and I'm going to so then I'll have a circuit in front of me. For example, something like this. I'll have a circuit in front of me, and I will go through the circuit from start to finish, and we'll deep dive in there and see what's going on with what. I'll put me get others on. Please volunteer. And then I'll behind why choices that they do. For example, why on earth have I run 1,000 meters of wire and I could have just gone, in a short distance across there because I wanted to make it look nice. But get into them sort of probably a bit deeper than that really, but get into them sort of things. Now also, while I've got you, is going to be start to finish. So we'll get it the right way up of an Abbey Road Plus. So with everything apart from the painting of the pedal, I'm going to go through how to build the tag board step by step. Also with the wiring, component choices. I think I might even have swapped transistors in next so it won't happen first time round. So yeah, I could play a bit of Green Day on my guitar back in the deck dealer, but very poorly to be fair. Yeah, so I'm going to go through that. Basically, take it. I love it if anyone could go through this next video and build one of these step by step in all detail, or maybe that would be fantastic. Other modern components and compare. But I go through. I think there's 4 or 5 little fix that. That took me maybe years before I hone this in what it is. This is one with the old military aircraft. Everyone, apologies about the technical difficulties. Out of the 40-minute podcast, it took me 20 minutes to get ready and then 10 minutes to realise that I couldn't post pictures onto the stream, which is fantastic. So 2 weeks from now, I'm going to have a new show. I'm positioning a few builders to try and get them on, see if anyone's brave enough to build inside of their circuits. And if there's anything that you guys can think of, questions or things that you would want me to discuss, please post it to me, message me people that you would say yes to coming onto a live stream that has got 0 views and 0 editing skills. Cheers.